Where do I begin? All right. I felt compelled to make this video for people that are coming out of quarantine and they're going back to work and they're dealing with assholes, right? You went and got tested, positive or negative, or just irrelevant. They had you on quarantine, 14 days, 10 days, whatever it is, and then you go back to work and you're dealing with assholes. So they're either being bullies or they're giving you cold shoulders. They're making jokes at your expense. They're ignoring you, alienating you, whatever, right? And this is more for food for thought. It's not to solve anyone's problem. You deal with each situation on your own. You are your own moral agent. So this is not an instructional video or a technique on how to handle things. It's more just trying to shed some light on some of the different perspectives that are out there. This is, of course, in my opinion. I'm not a fucking psychiatrist or a psychologist or anything to do with the mind. I just know some shit. So my own personal independent research, I've learned some things. So that being said, let's get into it. First, I'm not gonna defend the assholes. I won't defend them, but I will say that they don't take it personal. The things that they're doing, they're not being mean to be mean for mean's sake. It's not you that they're upset with. They just don't know how to handle the situation. They've never had to deal with somebody that came back from a potentially deadly virus in the middle of a pandemic, and then they're returning to work. So they're scared. They don't know how to handle it. So some of that fear is manifesting itself through bullying tactics. That is, bullying tactics where they're being mean to you. They're making jokes at your expense. They're might call you names or whatever. Who knows? The list goes on and on of their bullying shit that they do. But another thing that they'll do is they'll ignore you. They won't talk to you and stuff like this. And that alienation can make you feel uncomfortable. I'll talk about that uncomfortable feeling that you have in a minute, but addressing the alienation, the sense of being alienated or the sense of being pushed out, blacklisted, ignored, cold-shouldered, whatever, getting the silent treatment, all these things. What's happening there is it's a defense mechanism that they either consciously or subconsciously, somehow or another, they don't want to speak to you, they don't want to say hi to you because it opens the door to the devil, so to speak. If they speak to you, then that allows them to socialize with you on other times, say lunch or just sitting around the workplace at the water machine or whatever it is, water fountain, hanging around by the coffee maker, whatever. But all of that stuff opens up a socializing situation just to speak to you. So subconsciously, consciously, who fucking knows? But the fact is that's really what's going on. They're avoiding opening that door. So they're trying to avoid that. They're trying to avoid socializing with you on all fronts. It's kind of an easier way to just cut you off rather than have to have a hard conversation about their insecurities and their doubts and their fears. And to listen to your insecurities, doubts, and fears and how those two things might clash. So just understand that about them. I wouldn't take it personal. I don't believe they're doing it to be mean. They might be, but it's kind of like the Jesus quote, forgive them, they know not what they do. So your feelings about all this, it makes you upset and you're pissed off and everything. Your feelings about this is really a result of your attachment to the way they perceive you or the way they feel about you. You had a rapport with them prior to all of this nonsense, and then when you come back, you're expecting that same rapport. What's different? What really has changed about you from the time that you were tested or you were on quarantine or whatever, to the time you were away and now the time that you come back? There's really no difference in you, but for them, it's a world of difference because they don't know how to handle it. It's a new thing to deal with. So for you, you're feeling upset about it because of your attachment to that old way. And that's unfortunate because you really just have to let go. You have to be Buddhist-like and just let it go. Don't be attached to that feeling. The other thing is your attachment to it is also strung along, or it's connected to it's coupled with your what's the word I'm looking for? Your projections towards the way they're behaving. You figure you wouldn't do this to people, you wouldn't treat people that way, so you're projecting that onto them, and you're expecting them to behave a certain way, and that really is kind of wrong. Even though there might be a bigger wrong with them being an asshole to you, it's also wrong for you to project your feelings onto them and expect them to behave the way you would. Everybody treats things differently. And that kind of brings me to my final point, is that if they are going to behave this way and you do understand that they need to grow, you don't necessarily have to be around them. They can grow separate from you. You may understand these things that I'm presenting to you. You might not. You might reject it, but under the assumption that you and I share the same perspective about the whole situation, we've grown to understand this. They still have to grow to it, but they can grow over there. You don't have to put up with the nonsense. You don't have to put up with the mistreatment, the alienation of your friends, the bullying of these people. You don't have to put up with none of that. You can separate yourself from that, and just think: if they're treating you like this, then are they really worth being in your circle? And who knows? I mean, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but the longer you keep people like that, the more pain follows because of the attachment that I spoke about a second ago. But I don't want to end this thing on a negative note. One thing that you can do is offer love and compassion and say, I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to hear what your concerns are, and I'm willing to work towards making you feel comfortable. However, you cannot and you should not sacrifice your integrity and parts of yourself. You should not kiss their ass. It's important to make amends and try to sort through things and try to be as understanding as possible towards their fears, because you're on the other side of it. You've already dealt with COVID, I guess, and now you come back. Essentially, you've come back from the dead. You've risen like a phoenix. All these different metaphors you could say, but you're on the other side of it. And if they're treating you like that, they haven't experienced it, because it's just a matter of time before their family is diagnosed or contracts this terrible thing. But just offer that kindness and compassion to them and keep an open door, because who knows when they're going to come down with COVID, or they may have a family member, or they may even just decide that you were right and their behavior was childish and immature. So to cut them out altogether, I think, is wrong. It's not off base. I don't think it's off base, but it's not very resourceful. It's not very resourceful for you. It's not resourceful for them or the people that are in your circle or surrounding you. So just proceed with love. Love and compassion. Remember that these people don't really know what they're doing is hurting you on an emotional level. They're not concerned about that. Know that they are only concerned about themselves and their immature, childish, selfish fucking ways. But I'm just being silly with that. But it's true, but you can't look at it that way. Just try to think of it as a child. These children are generally selfish, just overall. They have to be, because their only world is dependency. So in this case, these people are being selfish because their only world is dependent upon everyone that they know does not have COVID. So when that world comes crashing down, it would be kind, it would be nice, it would be sweet if somebody understood that these people don't understand. It's a high road. You may lose altitude, and the air may get thin up there, but before you return the favor of assholery, just remember they don't really understand what they're doing. But again, that's not in defense of these assholes, because there's really no reason for it. All the reasons that I stated are kind of moot, because no one should be treating anyone that way. But because they are, and because we understand that it's wrong, because we understand that we're better people than that, we can at least understand their perspective, and maybe, just maybe that'll help bridge the gap in the otherwise world of darkness. It'll bring a little light to a world of darkness.